caballeros, buenas tardes y bienvenidos a MGM Grand Las Vegas, Nevada, Estados Unidos. Feliz 5 de mayo a toda la gente aquí hoy y toda la gente a Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a huge fight weekend here. Cinco de Mayo weekend has become one of boxing's biggest traditions, and this weekend is no different. As Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing, in association with Canelo Promotions, World of Boxing, and Clase y Talento, are proud to present 12 rounds of boxing for the light heavyweight championship of the world. We're sponsored by Hennessy. Never stop, never settle. BetMGM, the king of sports books. AutoZone, MGM Resorts, and Jurassic World Dominion in theaters. See it only in theaters on June 10th. So ladies and gentlemen, legacy is earned. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet the fighters. Now making his way to the stage, please welcome the reigning, defending, undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion of the world, Dmitry.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back here to the MGM Grand Hotel. Special week. Very, very lucky to be here and a part of just an incredible fight. Of course, the WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion, Dmitry Bivol. Undefeated, unscathed, won every fight with great comfort, never been hurt, lived a perfect life. His opportunity, as we say in the strap line of this event, legacy is earned. This Saturday he faces one of the greatest fighters of all time, the current pound-for-pound king of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, on a Cinco de Mayo fight weekend that is going to break all expectations at the T-Mobile Arena, live on DAZN pay-per-view this weekend. Before we talk to the fighters, before we talk to their teams, a couple of people that, of course, have great importance in this fight. We'll start with Joseph Markowski from DAZN. Joe, off the back of just a historic event last week at Madison Square Garden with Taylor Serrano, back-to-back epic events, back-to-back huge fight nights. Canelo Alvarez, the biggest star in the sport, back on DAZN, and a big moment for the platform on Saturday.
Yeah, there's not many ways you can follow up last weekend in New York. This is definitely one of them, the pound king. Back on DAZN. Canelo, welcome back to DAZN. Good to have you back. Tremendous fight. We're very proud to be broadcasting it, and we're very excited it's our first pay-per-view event here in the United States.
Obviously, we've seen from the numbers over the past, DAZN with Canelo. Canelo Alvarez is a one-off in many different ways, in the ring, outside of the ring, as a commercial giant of the sport, a standout pay-per-view king, and of course across America, Mexico and around the world, just a huge star.
Yeah, and we love working with him. I think he's got a fantastic fight this weekend, a tough fight. thank Dmitry's team, World of Boxing, for their support. As ever, great partners, as ever, matching me well. And yeah, as I say, we're truly excited. Fantastic Cinco de Mayo night for fans across the US and across the world. This is a huge fight in world boxing.
Thank you, Joe. Delighted also to welcome the president of the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza. Gilberto, welcome. We know that Saul has every belt in the super middleweight division, but this Saturday, one belt on the line, and that of your champion, Dmitry Bivol. Of course, the WBA Super Championship on the line. Dmitry Bivol has been an incredible champion and looks to defend with honour against Saul on Saturday.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's 100th anniversary of the World Boxing Association, the first sanctioning body ever.
Take that one.
And
just take that one. Yeah.
as I was saying, it's the 100th anniversary of the World Boxing Association. We were the first sanctioning body ever. Having this fight is kind of like the top of everything. On the Cinco de Mayo day, we're delighted and we're honored. Both fighters are doing this, especially just so close to 100 years. And what's history, Saul could be the first Mexican to become the light heavyweight champion of the world. Gracias, Saul, por siempre estar ahí presente. Thank you, Saul, for just being there. And Dmitry, it's a real pleasure to have you both fighting for our organization. We have a long history, both of us. I believe I'm blessed. Representing my organization, and I'm blessed because I saw them careers develop. At some point, Saul started with us 14 years ago. He was Fed Center champion and that was welterweight, if I'm not wrong. April, something like this. I was just looking at the stats. And Dmitry, I followed him since he was an amateur. And now being him develop and having all these titles, he also presents a real honor. So I'm wishing the best fight to all, and I'm wishing them, may the best man win.
Thank you very much, Gilberto. Vadim Kornilov from World of Boxing, of course, and the manager of Dmitry Bivol. Vadim, I joked with you earlier this week, you've taken the mickey out of me that I'm Team Canelo, but of course, we've represented and worked with Dmitry Bivol with you for a long time. And I always said to you, this opportunity, this moment will come for Dmitry Bivol, and you've always believed that this man was good enough to become a pound-for-pound great. On Saturday night, he gets the opportunity of a lifetime to etch his names with some of the greatest fighters of all time in the sport. And he looks fantastic, he looks ready. You believe he has a great opportunity to shock the world on Saturday.
Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate the opportunity. Always supported Dmitry. You've been a part of this team many fights. And, we appreciate, coming together to this point. This is a very big fight. I actually want to take this moment to announce that Frank Smith is the new promoter of Dmitry Bivol. Until Saturday night, Eddie has a chance to come back on the team if he wants to. But after that, we'll see. But yeah, I appreciate it. Matchroom has been very supportive. Dmitry became a world champion with Matchroom, if I remember correctly. And since then, we've had many barriers that we went through together. There's been some times when we couldn't get a fight, and Matchroom always supported. The zone, we've been fighting on the zone for many fights, and hopefully this is going to be a big fight. Legacy is earned is a very big name, and I think this has to do with both fighters here, because and promotion and the TV, because this could be a very big event. Everybody knows that this is a very tough fight for Canelo, a very tough fight for Dmitry. Both guys are going to supersede whatever they did before. And I think it's going to be very exciting. I want to thank everybody who's involved. There's been, throughout the career of Dmitry, there's been many promoters that have also supported Dmitry. World of Boxing, that has been there since the beginning. Main events that took part in this promotion, and has helped promote some fights for Dmitry Bivol. RCC Boxing was involved. Just want to say that this has been a long road, and this is where it comes from. And I appreciate all of Team Canelo. Very respectful, very honorable, and I appreciate the opportunity. We hope this is going to be a great event on 27th Saturday.
We know to the wider world that Canelo Alvarez is always the favourite going into fights, but within boxing, a lot of people feel that Dmitry Bivol is probably one of the toughest fights of Canelo Alvarez's career so far. Give us a couple of words on the mindset of Dmitry Bivol and what you've seen this week. I mean, it looks like ice is literally running through his veins. I don't know if his pulse has got over 40. all week. Relaxed, ready, fully confident that this moment won't be too big for Dmitry Bivol on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way he is until we get to the room and he's all nervous and he's shaking and he's worried. We were just joking about it in the back. Everybody's like, Dmitry seems very relaxed and that's only until we get to the room, and in the back, like sleep on the couch to make sure that I'm around. No, I mean, Dmitri's always had that mindset. He's always very, very focused. His mentality, like he always says, is very important in boxing. And I think both these guys here, it's not, the boxing skills are there, the speed, the power, all that, the experience, but I think the mentality is what gets you to this level. And I really believe that Dmitri's mindset is part of why he's here, and part of why, and I believe the same, like with Canelo Alvarez. I think he already has everything, he's already achieved everything, but then he takes the fight with a tough opponent at a high weight class. It's not because of anything else, but proving to himself and his stance that he's one of the best. And same thing with Dmitry. So these guys are meeting here. It's not about anything that's involved. It's not about obviously there's a title on the line that WBA is supporting, and Dmitry Bivol has been the WBA champion. But it's really about earning legacy. So two guys meeting in the ring and proving they're not afraid of anything. They're not backing out of any fights. They're not backing out of any challenge, and they're here to prove that.
Thank you, Brad. Let me talk to the trainers now. Two tremendous trainers of these two great champions, Gennady Mashinov and Eddie Reynoso. Gennady, firstly, welcome. You've been with Dmitry a long time. You've seen him try and get the recognition. You've seen him become world champion. You've seen him defeat great fighters with ease, like Jean Pascal and the current world champion Joe Smith. But this is a big challenge, and you fully believe that Dmitry is ready for this challenge on Saturday.
Благодарить прежде всего команду Canelo, потому что они решили взять этот бой, рискованный для них. И хочу поблагодарить организаторов, которые организовали прежде всего жизнь, большое спасибо Promotional и Газон, что они организовали. Я хочу сказать, что именно сегодняшний момент работает очень хорошо. И хочу пожелать, чтобы бой был очень хороший, и чтобы зрители, болельщики были в восторге от этого.
First of all, I want to say thank you and give my appreciation to Team Canelo for giving this opportunity and for making this fight. I think it's going to be a great, great fight. It's going to be a legendary fight. I want to thank Matchroom, Eddie Byrne for the opportunity and for organizing this great event. And it's been a long road that we've enjoyed very much together. As far as Dmitry, he's 100% ready for this fight, and that makes us very happy and very confident. His training camp will go very well, and we're looking forward to a very great fight.
Thank you, Gennady. Eddie, welcome. Just another week of business for you to take care of, but a great challenge in Dmitry Bivol. I know that when I spoke to you about the fights, every time Sal wants to face the champions, every time he wants to create legacy. But this fight against a young, hungry, fresh world champion looks like a big challenge for the team on Saturday.
Bienvenido, Eddie, en primer lugar. Obviamente son otras semanas para ti, el business como siempre, pero obviamente es un gran reto. Cuando hablamos de esta pelea, sabemos que Saúl siempre busca peleas con campeones, también para construir su legado, pero se enfrenta a un joven peleador que también es peligroso el sábado, y va a ser un reto muy difícil para Canelo el sábado.
Sí, es una pelea muy difícil, una pelea complicada ante un campeón que le ha ganado a buenos boxeadores, a campeones mundiales con muy buena experiencia amateur, y la verdad un tremendo boxeador. Estamos dando aquí nosotros ventajas, pero pues al final la historia la escriben los que toman retos, y así como tomamos el reto de subir a las 168 libras, ahora estamos tomando este reto de subir a las 175 entre un tremendo boxeador, un gran campeón, y esperemos que las cosas nos salgan bien.
Yes, obviously it's a really difficult, complicated fight against a really good champion. a boxer that's faced some great champions over the years as well. He's got a great amateur pedigree as well. He's a really good boxer, and people are saying that we've got the advantage, but you know, we're always looking to write history. That's why we've gone up to 175. But he's a tremendous boxer, and it will be a difficult fight on Saturday.
Thank you, Eddie. Dmitry, welcome. I mean, you're up against it this weekend, against a great champion. Cinco de Mayo weekend, the atmosphere is going to be incredible, but I know, through working with you and the team, this is the moment you've waited for your entire career. Winning the World Championship was a great achievement, but I know you've always wanted to go down in history as one of the greats of the sport. You have your moment, you have your opportunity on Saturday night.
Yes, of course, I'm really glad that I got my opportunity. I asked my team many years. I want to fight against the best guys from light heavyweight division, from super middleweight, and now I got this fight. And I want to say thank you, Eddie, for making this fight dozen. My promoter, World of Boxing and RCC promotion, and Frank Smith. And yes, I'm glad, and I'm focused on May 7 now, and I hope we will make a great fight for boxing fans, and I believe in me. I had a long trip to this moment, and now I have to do my job.
I know in the past we've talked about unification fights with Sergey Kovalev and Welterweight, and you've been chasing all those fights for years, but now you come in against the pound-for-pound number one. You know, the greatest fighter in boxing. You truly believe that you can be victorious and cement your name as a pound-for-pound king of boxing this weekend?
You know, to be honest, every time when I came to the ring, I believe in my victory. If you don't believe what you do, you never win. And I believe in my victory. Why not? I'm in boxing since I remember myself, since 5 years old. When I was 16, I was a 2 times world champion for amateur. It means a lot, I think. And now I have a belt. I have 90 fights, and I have a belt. I'm the champion. Why not?
You have to use, of course, great amateur pedigree, but you have to use your size in there. We know you have great speed. We know you have great feet. We know you have power as well, but the one thing about Sal is he's not a 175-pounder. He's not a light heavyweight. You have to use that size as an advantage this weekend.
You know, in fight like this, which going to May 7, you have to use all your advantage. All your advantage. And use all mistakes you open.
And finally, we know, of course, it's Canelo Alvarez, but you are the champion. He is challenging for your title. He's coming to take the belt from you, and you will defend that belt with everything you have this weekend.
Yeah, of course. I wanna keep my belt, and I wanna win, and of course I respect him. He's a great champion, and this is much more challenge for me to not only just keep my belt and check my skills against the one of the best fighter.
Thank you, Dmitry. So, welcome. This fight, as it gets closer, a lot of people talking about the quality of this fight. Of course, people talk about you stepping up in weight to light heavyweight, but listening to Dmitry Bivol, the experience as an amateur, the World Championship pedigree through the amateur stage, this is a world-class fighter that you're facing this weekend.
Yes, he's a really good champion. He's a really good fighter. We know that. We train for him. He's a really good fighter. He have a lot of skills, a lot of experience in amateur. He's a solid champion in 175. But I know, and I'm ready. I believe in my skills, and I'm very confident with how strong I am.
What is it about you and facing champions? You know, in your last 10 fights, one was a mandatory you had to take, one was Rocky Fielding, but 8 times in your last 10 fights, you've faced world champions with an opportunity to take their belts. You, the pound-for-pound king of the sport, are the challenger this weekend going into this fight. What is the mentality of Canelo in dethroning these champions? Seems like a big motivation to you.
Yeah, I like that kind of challenge because I just want to make history, and this kind of challenge is going to put me in the top in the books of history of boxing. So I feel alive when I have this kind of challenge. I respect the boxing skill of Dmitry Bivol, but it's my time, and I feel in my prime, and I enjoy this kind of moments.
61 fights, and Gilberto talked there about fighting for a WBA regional title back at welterweight. Now up at 175. Is the weight jump part of the challenge? You know, you ruled the divisions in middleweight and super middleweight. Do you have to take these steps to give yourself bigger challenge, almost oversized in this weight class?
Yes, because I beat all the champions in 168, so for now I'm okay that way, right? I need to take other challenge for myself, not just for make history. I need to feel that kind of challenge, and to go up in 175 and have the opportunity to win other title is amazing for me.
And closing off, the mindset of Canelo Alvarez, having achieved everything you can only have dreamed of as a young fighter. You see that in the eyes of Dmitry Bivol, that chance to create greatness for himself that you have. Legacy is earned, we say, in this. And you know that he will be bringing everything to you, but the hunger still burns so deeply within your heart for this sport of boxing.
Yeah, no, I know. He's going to bring everything, and I like the idea because the only thing I want is bring a really good fight and put everything in the boxing history. Really good fight is going to be there in the boxing books. So he's very confident. I'm very confident that's going to be a really good fight.
And finally, we know your Mexican fans are also important to your journey. Last Cinco de Mayo, we were at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, was incredible, but back in Las Vegas, Cinco de Mayo weekend, it's going to be very special. The weigh-in tomorrow and, of course, fight night on Saturday.
Yeah, it's very special for me, and I feel proud to represent my country in this weekend, on Cinco de Mayo weekend. It's just, I feel blessed representing my country in this weekend. So thank you so much, and for all the support, and I can't wait.
Thank you, Sal. I love boxing, and this is an incredible, incredible fight. The pound-for-pound king of the sport of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, once again steps up in weight outside of his comfort zone to challenge, in my opinion, the best 175-pounder in the world. He challenges the world champion, Dmitry Bivol, this Saturday at the T-Mobile Arena, live and exclusive on the Zone pay-per-view. We look forward to an incredible event. We thank the media, we thank all our partners. This is a special moment for the sport. Tune in and enjoy what I believe will be an incredible fight this weekend in Las Vegas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The press conference wrapping up. Canelo Alvarez set to fight in his 20th title match in his career. Dmitry Bivol going to defend his WBA title for a 9th time. And that one title on the line. Dmitry Bivol says, hey, this is my title. This is my division. He's not going to go down without a fight, obviously.
Absolutely not. So these are two fighters that are definitely putting everything at stake. The pride of fighting on Cinco de Mayo, and obviously the pride of Canelo. But let's not forget that behind these two world-level champions, we have two great corners. Eddie Reynoso has been with Canelo Alvarez since he was 12, 13 years old, alongside with Chepo. But let's not forget, Gennady Machanov has been with Bivol since the amateurs. So these are two corners that we know that there's such a good team. So they're willing to just make changes very quickly, and they know what elements they have in hand in order to make the changes and take the fight.
There was something I was thinking about too as the two trainers were talking with Reynoso and Machinov. The economy is there, but different paths. Obviously, Reynoso and Canelo together, they have tasted elite levels of success. Machinov and Bivol have tasted championship levels of success, but a win this weekend. Hey guys! As an amateur, it'd be something completely unprecedented for those two. As you say, both of them lining up with Eddie Hearn, and now your stare down coming up in moments.
Come on, bro.
Going face to face, eye to eye right there, but throughout the training camps, though, both talking to the media and both obviously showing their characteristics that we know of between great sportsmanship, terrific competitors, but also just having high levels of respect for each other.
And you mentioned the levels of professionalism and world championships. Let's not forget, Bivol comes with a very, very extensive amateur Olympic pedigree. Those are flying hours that perhaps not reflect on the professional record, but that actually reflects on his experience.
This is Dmitry Bivol's moment after a consistent, hard-working, impressive journey, taking it match by match, title defense by title defense, with his WBA championship, where you see Gennady Mashianov immediately to Bivol's left, Welterweight in the background, and then Canelo Alvarez with all those belts that he captured at 168. It's a new journey here now, and in recent days here in Las Vegas, we even heard hints of Canelo Alvarez. I shouldn't say hints, but declarations. Yeah, I'm interested in cruiserweight. I'm interested in heavyweight as well. So this is a fighter that potentially has plans to climb from 154 title win earlier in the next 6-7 years. So, excuse me, guys.
I don't think it's going to be that long, Josh. As a matter of fact, he threw that challenge. You know what? I'm just going to throw the line, see what it is. And let's not forget, one of the greatest heavyweights is only Mike Tyson. So everything is possible.
Seriously.
You documenting Starbucks.
Oh, yeah. I'm about to just step on the shoulders and meet some lap.
Well, the stare downs over, the pictures are being flashed, they're being snapped there, and we're wrapping up here from the press conference, and it's building up the energy. You can feel it here in this room, but tomorrow's going to be a whole different animal. Live on public terrain outside in Las Vegas at the Chico Plaza outside of T-Mobile Stadium. That starts off at 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern here in Las Vegas. For Buddy Trails, I'm Justin Chaco. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sí, ahí lo tienen. Ya todo listo. Gracias a todos por estar aquí.
One of the toughest fights. Because Canelo has no right to be at 175 he's not anywhere near a light heavyweight. He was a big middleweight that moved to super middleweight. 168 is his perfect weight class. You only have to look at the size of it. So he has to come out of his
last 10 fights, he's dethroned 8 champions with their belt, and now he wants to do it again.
What is it about Matchroom in the zone that Canelo came back? We see fighters coming from promotion, other guys and move on.
We've just got a great relationship, you know. I mean, understand, it's always business, and the deal has to be right at all times. He's not going to sign a deal with me just because he likes me. The deal has to be right. But if it's ever close, we get the work because we're close. He respects us. We respect him. You know, we're honest. We do everything we say we'll do. He likes the experience. He likes the shows. Wait till you see the entrance on Saturday night. And this is what we live for. You know, to promote the pound for pound #1 of the sport is an honour for me and our business, and we'll always do everything we can to make him happy. In this occasion, we have Canelo Alvarez and the world champion Dmitry Bivol. We're proud of Dmitry Bivol. One of the reasons I know how tough this fight is because I've seen Dmitry Bivol over the years dying out for this opportunity. He just says to me time and time again, please let me show you how good I am. And we'll see how good he is, but he will have to be a pound for pound great to beat Canelo.
Do you see Bivol as a more dangerous fighter than Triple G?
It's hard to say. I don't think he punches as hard as Triple G, but he's bigger, he's fresher, he has great feet. You talked about him. Now, this is a guy since the age of 5 he's been boxing. He's a 2-time world amateur champion. He was an incredible amateur. He's been undefeated as a professional. He's never been in a tough fight. You've got Joe Smith out there, who's a world champion. He beat him. He didn't even come out of gear to beat Joe Smith. But he hasn't got the resume because no one's wanted to fight him. He hasn't been able to get in those big fights against Kovalev and Beterbiev. He's been crying out for those unifications. So I know what this means to him. But this sport is about levels. And he's going to go to the highest level of the sport on Saturday against Canelo.
Eddie, you said Canelo won. Despite what you said about the size, Hassan Rahman, former heavyweight champ, just talked to him. He said he's got money on Canelo at 201 pounds against Usyk. You know,
I mean, look, you're talking about pound for pound #1 against pound for pound #2. You're talking about a big middleweight or an average size super middleweight fighting a heavyweight. This just shows you the fact that people favour Canelo Alvarez in that fight shows you how widely respected he is in boxing as one of, if not the greatest fighter of all time. Mike Coppin just said to me yesterday, you know, what does Canelo have to do to be recognised as the greatest Mexican fighter or one of the greatest pound for pound fighters of all time? And the answer is retire, because that's the only way you get the recognition. Look at the resume of him, you know, particularly over these last 10 fights. It's incredible. He's 31 years old. It's his 62nd fight this weekend. He says he wants to fight for another 6 or 7 years. What we are witnessing here is probably the greatest fighter of all time before ours. And I'm going to sit in that seat on Saturday and I'm going to say thank you so much for allowing me not just to have a ticket for this fight, but to be promoting this fight and this great fighter. And more than that, a great individual. How do you have the hunger to fight when you have what he has? You know, when he was growing up with nothing, and then all of a sudden dreamed of becoming a world champion, dreamed of having the big house, dreamed of earning the money, dreamed of creating legacy, and has done it all, yet wants it more than ever before. A freak of nature, a great competitor, and like I said, one of the greatest of all time.
Eddie, you know, I know you spoke to Tyson Fury the day after the White fight. Did he seem serious about retirement to you?
Why do you believe what Tyson Fury is? Do you think he's going to retire? If Tyson Fury is going to retire, the WBC apparently are going to call him this week to confirm he's retiring. What do you think the answer will be? Of course he's not retiring.
Do you think it's more likely he returns if Joshua?
No, I just think he's returning anyway. But it's just that he just likes to get you talking. It's very clever. But let's talk about the serious stuff. You know, the ones that tell you the facts. I want legacy. I love boxing. I want to beat the best after the best after the best after the best. And that's Canelo.
Eddie, you recently said that Tyson Fury is not on Ali or Frazier's level. So
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said you can't compare him to that with his resume.
But does it surprise you that people are comparing Fury to Ali?
Unbelievable.
Saying,
unbelievable. Yeah. Right? Because you look at the resumes, and I'm an Anthony Joshua man, of course. But when you look at the resumes of Tyson Fury's best wins, of course, Vladimir Klitschko, Deontay Wilder, and then after that you go to Dillian White, and after that you go to a very young start of a career in Derek Chisora. That's his resume. So? Oh, come on, mate. Otto Wallin. You're talking about comparing him to Muhammad Ali and Spinks and Frazier, and you're saying that you want to put Otto Wallin's win for Tyson Fury in all time. I mean,
questionable win anyway.
yeah, but it should have been stopped anyway. But anyway, but then I go to AJ's resume, right? When I talk about Vladimir Klitschko, obviously he beat Dillian Whyte as well. Joseph Parker in a unification fight, Andy Ruiz, Kubrat Pulev, Alexander Povetkin, loads more. So they've all got great resumes, but to be the only way you can compare Tyson Fury to the greats of that generation is if he fights and wins the Undisputed Championship, hopefully against Anthony Joshua, or if he fights Alexander Usyk and beats those guys. Yes, he's already a great heavyweight fighter of this era, but you to mix him in that category with the resume those guys built. You know.
Eddie, seeing the fact that White is coming off the loss with Fury, some people was thinking if Fury retires, then it might be Wilder White. Would that be something that...
Yeah, Wilder White's an incredible fight. I mean, Dillian Whyte has got loads of big fights left in him. I don't think he boxed a great fight against Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury is a very good fighter, and he boxed a great fight. So, but you know, Dillian Whyte's a fun fighter. There's fights against AJ, there's fights against Wilder, there's fights against Ortiz, there's fights against Ruiz. These are all incredible fights for Dillian Whyte, so he's going to be back in the heavyweight division for sure.
Eddie, Canelo obviously is with you till the end of the year, but I'm sure he's spoken to you about he wants to make history, and it looks like at light heavyweight it's going to be Beterbiev or Joe Smith Jr. Has he spoke to you about that and his plans to possibly face him?
No, I mean the plan right now, of course, is Dmitry Bivol this Saturday. That's the full focus. After that, you've got Gennady Golovkin possible trilogy in September. After that, we talk about a London fight or a Mexico fight to close the year off. And I think realistically, the undisputed 175-pound fight will come in Cinco de Mayo next year. If that doesn't get made, I think you have the cruiserweight fight as well. You know, people talk about Usyk, etc. I think AJ will beat Usyk. We'll see, but that's not something that we're actively looking at or negotiating. He just believes he would beat him.
Eddie, be remiss.
Benavidez, I think that's a big fight. But again, I think Sal's mentality is, as I said, the last 10 fights against 8 champions. Give me the champions. Ultimately, the fight against Benavidez and the fight against Charlo are just voluntary defences of his 168-pound title. We could do, but again, another voluntary defence. If you said to Saul, what would you rather do? Fight Benavidez in a voluntary defence or fight Beterbiev for the undisputed light heavyweight world championship? It's not even a conversation. Benavidez and Jose Benavidez, they genuinely want big fights. It's embarrassing who they're fighting. Charlo, it's embarrassing who they're fighting. Time and time again. Why don't you make Benavidez against Charlo? Why don't you make Benavidez against Plant or Plant against Charlo? But like you got a promotion, you're giving them all these easy fights for all this money. They can't sell. They're not selling these fights. You're just burning money. So get the guys together, make the fights. I don't know Charlo personally. I know Benavidez. I've been around him. He wants big fights. It's their job, the PBC's job, to put him in big fights, and they're not putting him in big fights. He's a very good fighter. A Canelo-Benavidez fight could be a massive fight, but it's nowhere near the size of what it could be.
So when you say Charlo doesn't deserve a Canelo fight, do you believe Yildirim was more deserving?
It was a mandatory. If he didn't fight him, then he would have had to vacate the belts, and he couldn't become undisputed at 168. You know what Canelo Alvarez did? During a pandemic, in 10 months, he had 4 fights in 10 months. He boxed Callum Smith, and then he was told by the WBC, if you don't fight Yildirim, you lose your belt. Therefore, he can't be undisputed. He went out after fighting in December and boxed in February, right, during a pandemic to beat Yildirim. Then in May, he boxed in front of 76,000 people at Dallas Cowboys to dethrone Billy Joe Saunders. And then in November, he fought Caleb Plant. We talk about 10 months. He had 4 fights. So I'm not saying that Charlo's not a great fighter, but you're calling Canelo Alvarez out without... Who's his next fight against Charlo? Sulecki. Lovely kid. Sulecki.
Eddie, what did you think of Canelo telling DAZN yesterday? They asked him who's your favorite fighter, and he said Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, it's interesting. Gervonta Davis is an incredible fighter. What time is he coming to DAZN?
What do you think of this fight with Rolly Romero?
It's an easy win for Gervonta Davis. I don't know a lot about Rolly, but seems like a great character. But Gervonta Davis is a pound-for-pound great. You know, he's an exceptional fighter, and he's a dangerous motherfucker, and I love him.
When Charlo was the champion at 154.
Errol Spence, would you like that?
No, I mean, look, I feel like Conor Benn's 2-3 fights away from fighting that kind of caliber of guys, but we need to step up Conor Benn. You know, we're talking to top-ranked about him fighting Ramirez, actually at 147. I think is a great fight for him. Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia. Conor wants to fight Keith Thurman. I think that's a very tough fight. I still think he needs that one fight before those guys. But every time I put him in a fight, he demolishes them. So he's saying, I'm ready for those guys. Give me those guys. And you might be right, but it's just, he's 25. He's a superstar. Look, you've got to take the right steps.
What about Jaron Ennis, though?
Jaron Ennis is an outstanding fighter.
Do you want Conor Ben and John?
I mean, the problem with 147 pounders, it's always been the champions are outstanding. Now, the new wave of fighters coming through are also outstanding. Jaron Ennis may be the best welterweight in the world now. Jaron Ennis maybe beat Spence and Crawford now, maybe. But again, he needs those tests as well. Conor Ben against Jaron Ennis, I mean, look, this in 3 fights' time could be a mega fight. But I do rate, and you know, whether Virgil Ortiz stays at 47 or moves to 54, who knows? But he's another outstanding fighter. And this is, you know, when I talk to Conor, it's like you wait for Spence and those guys to move up, but then you realise you've got Ennis and Ortiz and all that, and even like Stanionis and, you know, those guys who don't really have the profile, but outstanding fighters.
Eddie, when Charlie was the champion, how does that play out?
Say that again.
You mentioned Spence versus Crawford.
What a fight! What a fight! I mean, I believe they'll get that fight made. What a fight! I believe Terence Crawford will win that fight.
Eddie,
why is that? Because I think he's fresher.
He's the older guy. So,
Who?
Crawford.
Yeah, but he's fresher. You know, everything that Errol Spence has been through with the accident, with the eye injury, even in the last fight, and Errol Spence is brilliant. I don't think he has long left at 147. And me saying Crawford beats him isn't, like, Errol Spence is a pound for pound great, but I just personally believe Terence Crawford will beat him.
And Eddie, I'd be remiss without asking at some point, any reaction to that MTK news and Kinahan and everything going on?
Just as always, you know, we're a huge global business and we'll follow all rules and regulations and sanctions that are put in place.
Taylor Serrano, will they have a rematch? You get 1.5 million views, breaking records.
Yeah, Taylor Serrano, you know, for me, if we could make Fight 2, over the moon for that. And, you know, we talk about fights with Holly Holm and Cyborg. They're big fights, but as a boxing fan, if everybody's sensible, and obviously they deserve another huge payday, I think we can make that rematch.
Charlo was the champion. Kambosos said that he offered Devin Haney the same deal that they offered Lomachenko. I mean, is there any real proof to that, in that Lomachenko had agreed or would agree to a 2-fight deal in Australia,
I don't know. I mean, look, when the deal fell through for us because they no longer wanted to give DAZN the Australian TV rights. But the deal that I was offering Devin Haney was the rematch in America. But it was irrelevant because when the deal broke down, we couldn't do a deal. So Devin, who was incredibly loyal throughout, had no choice but to take that deal or not get the fight. But you have to admire Devin Haney because although it's probably not a great deal, he thinks he should have got more money. Now if he wins, you know, he has to fight for the titles in Australia. If he wins, he has to defend them again in Australia.
At only 20%, is that correct?
Yeah, but if you believe in yourself as a long-term play, and this is why he deserves respect, because he thinks it's a bad deal, and it is a bad deal, but it's the only way he's going to achieve that greatness and become undisputed. So I take my hat off to Devin Haney. I believe on an even playing field, he wins that fight. I hope he wins the fight. I've got a lot of respect for George Kambosos as well, but that was the deal. He was handcuffed.
Do you think they offered that so in hopes that he would not take the deal?
No, I don't. I just think that was their interpretation of his value. I mean, Bob Arum's never spoke well about Devin Haney, but now he's got him on ESPN for 2 fights. And when Devin Haney wins those fights and becomes undisputed, I look forward to welcoming him back to Matchroom and DAZN.
Are you looking to sign Gervonta Davis once he becomes a free
agent? Am I
agent?
looking to sign Gervonta Davis?
Once he becomes a free
Are
agent?
you wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt? I mean, that is a question. I would love to sign Gervonta Davis. Obviously, we won't approach him, we won't have any conversations till he is a free agent, but we would be very aggressive in trying to bring him to the team.
How big of a pay-per-view is him and Haney, potentially?
Huge. How big a pay-per-view is him against Ryan Garcia? You know, I mean, there's huge fights out there for Gervonta Davis. If he can stay motivated and he can stay disciplined, you know, he's a very dangerous kid.
Is Triple G coming to the fight?
No. It's all right. It's a bit embarrassing because if the offer was so good, why did he choose to come with us?
Yeah, what'd you think of 164 pounds with Spence?
What? I mean, you think Canelo is motivated, going back to that offer, do you think Canelo Alvarez is motivated to fight a welterweight at 164 pounds for no title? Like, That's just, it's like desperation. It's like, shit, who else have we got? Offer him Spence. You know, I mean, you talk about 147 pounder. They want to move Errol Spence to 164 pounder. I don't even reckon they had a conversation with Errol Spence. It was just like, how else can we stop Canelo Alvarez going to Matchroom?
It would be a big fight in Cowboy Stadium.
It would be a big fight. But Sean, Canelo, when are you guys going to learn what Canelo Alvarez is all about? Right? Legacy, champions. Of course, he wants to make money, but he wants to go in there on Saturday as a challenger against Dmitry Bivol and rip the belt off him and take that back to the changing room, put it down, and have the photos and say, I nicked another one.
What about the old eye test? What you say is true. They don't have titles right now. Charlo and Benavidez is 68 or 75. But to fans who say, I watched them fight, I think they're more dangerous fights than Ryder, Bivol, and Beterbiev.
Well, he hasn't boxed Ryder yet, and he hasn't boxed Beterbiev. How can you say that Charlo is a tougher fight than Beterbiev? Are you mad? How can you say that Charlo is a tougher fight than Dmitry Bivol at 175 pounds? Absolute rubbish. Who has Charlo ever beat? Tell me the names of someone Charlo's beaten.
J-Rock was unified champ. Went on to become Ring Magazine unified champ.
Go on.
So, Austin Trout.
What? Come on.
You asked that.
Yeah, but what stage? I mean, you're talking about, go on, keep going.
Devinchenko.
Sergey Derevianchenko.
Okay.
He triple G good fight.
Still struggling to see any, you know, big
Korbov,
names. Now tell me the recent run. Tell me the last 3 fights.
You're talking about the Montiel
Sulecki.
Kamel Sulecki.
Montiel.
What do you think about that performance?
Terrible. But I don't blame Charlo because he's fighting the guy he's not even motivated to fight. Charlo's an outstanding fighter, but you're not going to see that unless he steps up and fights a real fight. Just put him in with Plant. Put him in with Benavidez.
Do you believe?
I think Benavidez could be the best of all those three.
Do you believe Demetrius Andre ever deserved the Canelo fight?
I think the only time I wasn't involved with Canelo Alvarez then, so I don't know the conversations. I had a brief conversation with Golden Boy about 2 years ago, maybe more, about Demetrius Andre fighting Canelo at middleweight, and Sal wanted to move up to 68. So I think if his chosen weight class was 160 and he was staying there, I believe he would have fought Demetrius Andre.
Why was it so hard for Demetrius to get fights in general?
He's very good. He's very good. He's very awkward, and he doesn't generate the interest that can pay these guys the money they need for the risk involved in fighting Demetrius Andre.
So what should he do now since
Well, he's injured now. He's out of the Zach Parker fight. So you know, I think he has to reschedule that fight. Try and become mandatory at 168. If Canelo is at 168, I think he'll fight him. If he's not, then the belts will become vacant as Canelo moves to 175. He can become a 3-division champion. He's a brilliant fighter, Demetrius, but I feel bad for him because I would love to see him get that opportunity to achieve greatness and fight a huge name.
He should go to the PBC and kind of try to make those fights kind of look.
Probably, yeah. Well, we've agreed to that this fight will be his last fight with us because I can't get him the fight, and if I can't get him the fight, he's wasting his time being with me. We've worked very well together. He's made a lot of money. We've kept him active. But I can't deliver him the fight that he needs. And if I can't deliver him, he should look elsewhere.
T.O. Lopez said his own set him up because they wanted Kambosos versus Haney for Undisputed. But ironically, the fight is on ESPN. What's your thoughts on T.O.'s
just the most deluded comments I've ever heard in my life. Like, we didn't care who won that fight. We just wanted a great fight. And everybody, 80% of people believe that Kambosos won that fight. He should be looking at himself and say, why didn't I win that fight? Was it my attitude? Was it my weight cut? Was it my trainer? Was it, I don't know. But you can't, once you get beat, you have to draw a line under it. He's still going on about it now. It's unbelievable.
I've heard talks of Canelo possibly facing John Ryder.
I just think that if he fights in London, if he fights in London in December, look, the December fight is not going to be Beterbiev. You know, if he fights as quickly as that after the September 17th fight, then he'll probably face one of his mandatories. If he stays at super middleweight, that'll be John Ryder. If he's up at light heavyweight, that could be the winner of Buatsi Richards. But those fights only make sense in London. So fighting a Brit.
What about Michael?
Who?
For cruiserweight.
I think that could be an option for Mexico. I mean, I think if he fights in December, he either fights in London or he fights in Mexico.
because he told us yesterday, I want to bring to Mexico a belt fight. I can give nothing less.
Yeah.
So the cruiserweight fight
That would be a
is
good fight for Mexico. Yeah.
Eddie, can people pre-order a pay-per-view right now?
Yes.
How do they do it?
On the Zone pay-per-view.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it. Thanks for giving time.
You're up.
Should we go to meet this?
I'm going to do.
Good stuff, huh? Hey, again, guys, if you guys want to cut through the rows, it's a lot faster this way, guys. It's blocked off on the top.
You see anything else? All right, y'all.
Kill him.
Oh, you went to the
Get him.
Sucks when he's sucks when they're no longer a client. All right, I'm gonna get meet my friends. How are you?
They're gonna stop messing with the monster.
I didn't see you Saturday.
He was about to clothesline him up in the front.
I'll continue to try to get a rest.
Yeah, did you try it? All right, Fight Hype fam, I will catch you guys later on the live. Much love to you guys. We'll be live for the weigh-in tomorrow and obviously live on Fight Night. So thank you, Fight Hype family, for keeping it locked in.